In this video, I will show you how to find the perimeter and area of various polygons. Now, the perimeter is just the sum of the lengths of all of the sides. If I have a vertical portion or a horizontal portion, I can just count that. But the diagonal lines, we will have to use the Pythagorean theorem. So if I want to find the length of GE, this is what I will have to do. So for GE, I'm going to do the Pythagorean theorem. And so I will make a right triangle that has GE as the hypotenuse. And I see that the horizontal length is 5. The vertical length is 1. So according to the Pythagorean theorem, the length of GE should be the square root of 5 squared plus 1 squared. That's 25 plus 1. So that means the square root of 26. So that's the length of GE. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the length of FE using the same method. So trying to find the length of FE. And again, I'll make a right triangle out of it. The horizontal portion here is 5. The vertical portion is 6. So FE, the length should be the square root of 5 squared plus 6 squared. Okay, that's 25 plus 36. So that's what, 61? Let me double check that. Okay, so I've got the square root of 61. And then finally, we've got the length of GF, which is vertical, so I can just count that. And I can see that the length is 7. Okay, so for the perimeter, I'm just going to add these up. So the perimeter, I'm just going to add the square root of 26. All right, use the arrow key to escape, plus the square root of 61, plus 7. So that turns out to be 19.91. Okay, so I see, so I have 19.91 units. So clearly the answer is C. All right, moving on to problem number 2. Now we want the area. Well, the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Okay, 1/2 base times height. You can pick whatever side you want to be the base, but the easiest thing to do is to choose a vertical side or a horizontal side. So I'm going to pick GF because that's vertical. Now once you've chosen that, then so that's going to be my base. Now the height has to be perpendicular to that, and it needs to reach the vertex that goes across from it. So this has to be the height. Once I've chosen GF for the base, then this green line is the height. I have no choice on that. So the area, oh, I just wrote base times height. Area is 1/2 base times height for a triangle. 1/2 base times height. So that means the area is going to be 1/2. The base here is 7. The height is this green line, which is 5. Okay? So that's going to be 1/2 of 35, okay, which is like 17.5, I think. Yeah. Okay, so the area is 17.5 units squared. So that's going to be option B. All right, for number 3, we're back to the perimeter. So we're trying to find the perimeter. So we're just going to add up all the lengths of all the sides. So one by one, I need to find the length. So let's start with length MJ. All right, so I'm trying to find this length right here. We'll use the Pythagorean theorem. So the horizontal length is 4, and the vertical length is 2. So that makes MJ the square root of 4 squared plus 2 squared. That's 16 plus 4, so that's going to be the square root of 20. All right, now let's go ahead and find the length of JK. All right, so let's make a triangle out of that, a right triangle. So the horizontal length is 3, the vertical length is 6. All right, so that means JK should be the square root of 3 squared plus 6 squared. All right, that's 45. So that's going to be the square root of 45. All right, next let's find the length of LK. All right, let's make a right triangle out of that. So the horizontal length is 4, and the vertical length is 2. So that's going to be the square root of 4 squared plus 2 squared, and we already saw that that's going to be the square root of 20. Oh, and you know what? They're telling us this is a rectangle, so we know that the opposite sides of a rectangle are congruent. So that'll save me a little bit of work. So for example, ML, okay, ML is right here, but I know it's going to be the same thing as JK. So I know that's going to be the square root of 45 without even drawing a triangle. Okay, so the perimeter will be the sum of all of these. So if I add all of these up, so that's going to be the square root of 20 plus the square root of 45 plus the square root of 20 plus the square root of 45. So that's 10 root 5, but they want decimal places. So that's 22.36. All right, so that's it for number 3. For number 4, we are supposed to find the area of this rectangle. Notice this is the exact same rectangle as before. I'm looking at the ordered pairs. They are exactly the same. So that's useful because I can use the lengths that I found before if I need them. So the area of a rectangle is base times height. So the area is going to be base times height. You can pick any side you want to be the base. So normally I would pick a side that's vertical or horizontal if I could, but there are none. So I'm just going to pick this side LK to be the base. Now the height now must be perpendicular to that. All right, so for example, the height could be ML. So I've got the base and I've got the height. Now ML was radical 45. We found that on the previous problem. Okay, and LK, let's see. LK was radical 20. All right, so base times height, we're just going to multiply these. So that means the area should be radical 20 times radical 45. So that comes out to be 30. So the area is 30. So how do we handle shapes that are not rectangles or triangles? Now technically there is a formula for the area of a trapezoid, which is what this is. But I really want to prepare you for just random shapes, so let's ignore the fact that there are some formulas for trapezoids. First of all, I mean, the perimeter is no different. All right, the perimeter is still going to be the sum of all the sides. So let's just work our way around. Let's start with SP. All right, we'll need to find the length of SP. All right, so SP. As we've done on previous problems, we'll just make a triangle out of that. The horizontal length is 2. The vertical length is 6. So the length should be the square root of 2 squared plus 6 squared. That's just the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so that's 36 plus 4, so that's 40. So this will be the square root of 40. All right, and then just working my way around clockwise, this horizontal piece comes next. We've got PQ. So PQ, because it's horizontal, I can just count, and I can see that that's going to be 3. All right, so next I'm going to do QR. All right, so here comes QR. And I'll make the triangle out of that. So the right triangle would be like this. So horizontally it's 4, and vertically it is 6. Okay, so that's going to be the square root of 4 squared plus 6 squared. Okay, so that's going to be, I think it's 50, the square root of 50, but let me just be sure. 4 squared plus 6 squared. 52. All right, I was a little off, which is why I check. Okay, so square root of 52. And then SR, this horizontal piece, is, we can just count this. So that's going to be, let's see, I see 4 and 5, so that's going to be 9. All right, so for the perimeter, we're just going to add up all of these lengths. So it will be the square root of 40 plus 3 plus the square root of 52 plus 9. So it's 25.54, have to round up. All right, 25.54. Now, for the area, the best thing to do is to divide the shape into rectangles and triangles. Use vertical lines when you, use vertical and horizontal lines when you divide. Okay? So, in this way, I have now divided the shape into area number 1, area number 2, and area number 3. So I'm just going to find each of these areas. Okay, so area number 1 is a triangle. So that's 1/2 base times height. All right, the base is 2, all right, 'cause this is the base right here. And the height is this right here. So the height is really this orange line, so that's 6. So that's 1/2 base times height. 2 times 6 is 12. Half of that is 6. So area 1 is 6. Okay, now let's go for area 2. Area 2 is a rectangle, so that's just going to be base times height. The base is right here. That's 3. All right, the height is this orange line again, so that's going to be 6. And 3 times 6 is 18. So that's area 2. All right, now let's do area 3. Area 3 is a triangle, so again that's going to be 1/2 base times height. Okay, the base is right here. That is 4. The height is going to be the orange line, which is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. Half of that is 12. So now I'm just going to add up these 3 numbers, and that should be the area of the overall shape. So that's going to be 36. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.